Did you guys collect comic books when you were little? I know I did. I had Sonic the Hedgehog. That was my comic book of choice. And I also have a couple of issues of the very, very early run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In fact, I have the first issue from the Dark Horse run. It was, I'm pretty sure it's the first run. And yeah, they were great. They're a lot of fun. I ducked out a long time ago, like a bunch of other people. But the people who are sticking around right now are noticing how absolutely 100% political everything has become in the comics industry, just like the gaming industry. And as you can see here, I have a still from the new issue of Captain America. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you would know who the Red Skull is. Obviously, he's the arch nemesis of Captain America, and there's something new about his personality, especially in this image right here. What do you guys notice? If you guys have been keeping along with the channel, you'll probably pick up on a couple of different things here on the slides, especially you got, so just on the side, you got chaos and order. Okay, that could mean a bunch of different things, and especially in a comic sense, that could mean quite a few different things. Carl Luger's genius. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of an extrapolation on this one. We'll circle back to that. And the feminist trap. Okay. But then right over the shoulder of Red Skull, you have 10 rules for life. That is a lot less subtle. Okay. This is clearly 100% a reference to Dr. Jordan Peterson. I don't think anybody can really doubt that, okay? What were his two most recent books about, okay? The first one was 10 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. And the second one, which I'm currently reading right now, is 10 More Rules for Life, Beyond Order, okay? Carl Luger's genius. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the background of Red Skull is a former Nazi, and the Nazis themselves were wrapped up in a certain philosopher's ideology, Friedrich Nietzsche, okay? And Friedrich Nietzsche gets referenced by a ton of great philosophers, psychologists, psychiatrists all the time, anyone who are worth their salt. He's up there with Sigmund Freud, and also one of Nietzsche's students, Carl Jung. And that is somebody that Jordan Peterson references all the time, hence why you would have Carl Luger's genius. I think that Carl Luger, not knowing any of the background of the current Captain America run, much like many people out there, I am just taking a couple of extrapolations on this one. And I think that instead of slandering Carl Jung, you just tweak the name a little bit and make it Carl Luger. And then the feminist trap. Okay, what does Peterson speak out a bunch about? Other than abandoning ideology, something that this art, I struggle to call him an artist, but this activist who is currently writing this book is clearly an ideologue, if you are to know his background, which you will by the end of this video as well. But feminism, third wave feminism specifically, has been a target of Jordan Peterson and his cohorts as well. But like I also said, this isn't the only slide, okay? So it did, in fact, catch the eye of Peterson. And I seen this last night. I was like, what the fuck is going on? First when it was posted, this is everything that was out there. And then you got this additional slide as well. And we'll get into it because they're all just kind of out of order right now, but these were the ones that were brought up to Peterson. So you can tell a leftist is writing a comic book based on how much fucking verbiage there is per panel. So we'll try to breeze through this. So you got Captain America on the first illustration here. So let me guess, your brother, he disappeared into the internet, and when he came back out, he can't stop talking about his new theory of the world, and that theory comes from one man, the Red Skull, telling you about the horrors of 10 Rules for Life, and being rather illustrative about it, which if you've actually taken the time to listen to anything that Peterson does, it is, especially when he's up there on stage giving his talks, it's not very animated. It's mostly very thoughtful, very inflective, and precise. There's not a lot of movement, and there's maybe wandering about the stage. But as you can tell by that illustration right there, clearly Red Skull is riled up over something. Don't know what that could be all about. And then, of course, you have at the bottom there, yeah, he did. And speaking with, I believe, a police officer, at least we can tell. It's the same for all of them. Young men, weak, looking for purpose. I found the flag, you found the badge, they found the skull. He tells them what they've always longed to hear, that they are secretly great. Really. The whole world is against them. That they're truly men, they'll fight back. Oh, that if they're truly men, they'll fight back. Interesting take. And bingo. That's their purpose. And that's what they live for. And that's what they'll die for. A lot of villains in comic books prey on young, vulnerable populations. Okay, the disaffected youth of a large city with no real need or no real purpose, as younger men are normally at the bottom of the societal totem pole, as they are plentiful. They are plentiful, and they don't have the social capital that you need in order to be important in life. They don't have the life experience. They don't have the education. Ergo, some spin off and dwell in that sort of hopelessness, and others take personal responsibility on themselves in order to improve their life wherever they see fit. But apparently, if you're the artist of this said comic book run, you believe that anybody who's trying to empower men in this instance, even though if you'd take the little bit of time necessary in order to see what Dr. Peterson is out there espousing, you would realize that most of his talks, the ones that he was delivering in Europe, North America, all around the entire world. Amazing what happens when you can deliver a common sense message that resonates throughout the world. You can fill auditoriums. This guy couldn't even fill out a backyard. What started out as an 80-20 split between men and women quickly and steadily, according to Peterson, Rubin, and a bunch of other people who were along on the speaking tour, would attest to there was starting to become a much more even split between men and women. Now, does that really matter? No, because there's no specific gendered purpose for the two books, for either set of 10 rules for life. It just resonates with people who've been told all their life that they are indebted somehow by the government, by their parents, by their teachers, that somehow they're owed something, somehow they're due, somehow somebody's trying to keep them down. Instead of just telling them that, you know what, if you start by taking care of yourself, if you start working on your job, you start working on small things, incremental things, eventually you can start taking on much larger tasks. But that flies right in the face of the current author of this run of Captain America. So Dr. Jordan Peterson appears to have discovered that a Captain America comic has been written where his ideas have been projected as part of a philosophy of the villain Red Skull. The clinical psychologist and author was rather shocked when he became aware of it. Captain America comic in question was written by one Ta-Nehisi Coates, an African-American activist. Race grifter. A user on social media posted, and we showed you all of that stuff. We read the panel out here. The comic describes a conversation between Captain America and another individual. Red Skull can be seen on a laptop screen offering sermons on 10 rules for life, which is an obvious jibe at Dr. Peterson, who has authored the popular bestseller 12 Rules for Life. Furthermore, Captain America's words leave little room for doubt that Red Skull is based on the clinical psychologist. Red Skull is described as someone who offers lectures on the internet. It is the same for all of them. Young men, weak, looking for purpose. I found the flag, you found the badge, they found the skull, says the protagonist. He continues. He tells them what they've always longed to hear, that they are secretly great, that the whole world is against them, and if they're truly men, they'll fight back. It is a gross oversimplification of Jordan Peterson actually teaches to put it mildly. Exactly. Peterson said after his initial what the hell reaction about the matter, do I really live in a universe where Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a Captain America comic featuring a parody of my ideas as part of the philosophy of arch-villain Red Skull? Unfortunately so. Who has heard the name Ta-Nehisi Coates before? Probably nobody, okay? A very, very, very small subsection of the internet has actually heard of this guy before. Not because he's successful, but because he's a race grifter. Because I was looking for a long fucking time as to where this current run of Captain America ranks in sales. And the most recent and the most up-to-date findings I could find with anything that has a reference to this run of Captain America was from October 2020, the top 500 comics. Okay? And in October of 2020, at the 28th position, Captain America number 24. That was released in March of 2020. That was the highest ranking. There are several other issues as well. From what it appears, it is a bi-weekly release schedule for Captain America, at least in this current run, and they could not give this fucking thing away. Maybe something happened of importance in episode 24, but that's where it peaked. After that, you have to literally go down into the 40s. Oh, I'm sorry. We had to go in the 340s. Captain America number 23 released also in March. That is the second most popular one that has been released since October 2020. I couldn't imagine, based on the current trajectory of things, that it would be any more popular, right? And that's sad, because comic books are essential to many of a person's development, right? $4, and I'm pretty sure I was buying, oh god, that was even, late 90s, getting Sonic books, and they were like $5 at the corner store where we used to get them. That was in Canada, obviously, but they couldn't give this shit away. Oh no, everything's just shifting onto digital platforms. Well, I tried to find any numbers for the digital release schedule for Marvel, and they're hidden so deep that you know they've got to be dog shit, okay? But I suppose if in early 2020 you peak at 28, you're obviously due to be getting a much needed promotion, right? And somebody's got to notice your sheer brilliance, and you got to bring you along for the ride. Obviously they want to bottle this talent and put it on the big screen, because Ta-Nehisi Coates to pen new Superman film for DC Extended Universe. Yeah, he's bringing Black Superman, because off the mediocre success of the DCEU, what do they need in order to return to prominence, to capitalize on the major successes of other Marvel brands? Well, you need a woke author who has a hatred for America. It's weird. Somebody who referred to 9/11 first responders as monsters and worse, and we'll get into that in a second, starts writing Captain America. And then he's going to be writing the all-American superhero Superman himself, obviously. So he called first responders for 9/11 menaces of nature. And he got many speaking gigs. This is back from 2017, so he's been pumping this shit out regularly. A writer who once called 9/11 first responders menaces to society is set to speak at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, Fox News learned Tuesday. Ta-Nehisi Coates, a provocative journalist for The Atlantic, of course he writes for The Atlantic as well, is scheduled to give a lecture at the New York School on April 12th in a talk hosted by the Department of English and Philosophy. The speech, which is not yet listed publicly by West Point, is billed as a second annual Zengerli Family Lecture in Arts and Humanities. Ugh. I bet when a flaming liberal like him comes to speak at West Point, he'll be met with respect, even though most of the audience will disagree with him, said West Point graduate, who compares Coates' impending speech with the violent confrontation that greeted author Charles Murray when Murray recently lectured at the Vermont School. Students at places like Millbury College could learn a lot from the cadets, obviously. Coates' reputation as a divisive writer stems mostly from his writings on race. No kidding. They were not human to me, Coates wrote in a book, Between the World and Me, about the emergency responders who rushed into the World Trade Center on September 11th. They were not human to me. Yeah, this is a guy who's been rewarded by pop culture. This is a guy who's been celebrated as somebody, as a black voice, as a prominent black voice, delivering empowering messages. And now he's branching over into the world of actively attacking people who want to build up the world instead of tear it down. Black, white, or whatever, they were menaces of nature. They were the fire, the comet, the storm, which could, with no justification, shatter my body. When it came to the same book, Coates also referred to white America as a syndicate designed to dominate and control our bodies. We talk about enslavement as though it were a bump in the road, Coates said during a speech at Harvard. Yeah, this guy's been allowed to speak everywhere, even though he is a dangerous race grifter. And I tell people it's the road, it's the actual road. Well, nobody's listening to your message. And if you wouldn't have slandered Dr. Peterson in your most recent work, it would have just come out. It would have ranked somewhere towards the bottom of the top 100. It might have cracked the top 100. Who knows? But nobody would have paid attention. Next time your name would have been in the headlines whenever they cast whoever's going to be playing the Black Superman in order to write a preemptive obituary for that actor's career. Because I was looking at different analysis of his writing style, of what he's been capable of. He originally drove Black Panther. There was a certain run prior to the release of the movie that he ran directly into the ground, and yes, now he had the opportunity to take on and do the exact same thing to Captain America, and that's exactly what's been done. This will probably pop a number. This will probably drive sales of this book, just to be like, is this actually in there? And you know what? Kudos to him. The little temporary claw for attention worked, because I'm not the only person reporting on this. Fuck, like you could see there when we were looking at the original tweets. It's right over there on the side for Twitter, and nothing's really being discussed as to the substance of it, and that's another reason why people who get their information or they live on Twitter, all they know is Canadian psychology professor Jordan Peterson. I think he's kind of transcended that label of just being a psychology professor, but whatever. Responds to suggestions. Do you guys believe that those panels that we were looking at, they were just merely suggestions? Anyways, that the villain, Red Skull, not mentioning anything more about Red Skull, in a comic book, not just any comic book, this is Captain America after all. This is a post-Avengers society, where Captain America, if he's not the most, he's probably the second most famous comic book hero right now, right there with Iron Man, by Ta-Nehisi Coates, not giving you any background to him, is inspired by Peterson's work. Yeah, a little bit more than that, okay? And this is how bunch of low information people are running with us right now. Oh, if it wasn't so accurate, it wouldn't be getting so triggered. The fucking big brain taked over there. But those are, once again, just people on Twitter. Dumb individuals with dumb takes, but unfortunately they have voices. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Because if life were fair, they'd have their ideas challenged, and unfortunately, Twitter doesn't provide for that. So, congratulations, buddy, you got your fucking name back in the headlines for another 15 minutes. Perhaps you wouldn't be so jealous of somebody else's success if you actually, cleaned up your room, maybe. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. But with that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.